he was still not at the level where sleeping for a few days won't be a problem. Hence, he closed his eyes, letting his thoughts drift away. What? You cannot find anything about who brought him? Hu Ming questioned with a frown. Yes, Master. I have inquired every inner disciple who was out for recruiting, but none of them have seen him or know where he came from. Hu Ben replied respectfully. Okay, go back and keep an eye on him. I want to know everything he does within the sect, Hu Ming instructed with a wave of hand. Hearing him, Hu Ben nodded, and after exchanging a few more words, he left, leaving only Hu Ming in the room, pondering with a frown. Just who brought him into the sect? Is it her, or? He did not say anything further, but his expression became grave. You won't do anything improper, right? Li Mei asked cautiously, looking at Yi Chun, who sat in front of her. When the morning came, she got ready and went to eat breakfast, where he suggested he could help her with cultivation. And before she could reply, Jin Yunqi instantly agreed with this on behalf of her. Hence, he ended up on her bed with a mischievous smile. Xiao Mei, I am your senior brother, so there is no way I will bully you, he replied, lying through the teeth. Before continuing, just pull your clothes a little up, only enough to show your navel. That's all I need, he added with a serious look. Hearing him, Li Mei hesitated, a little before revealing her milky white navel to him. It was smooth without any fat, and in the middle was a cute pink belly button. Then there was also her delicate and curvy waist, which was in the view. She really has a great body, Yi Chen thought in his heart. However, he was calm as water. It's not like he didn't have any interest in her, but he had seen many horrors in the war, and because of this, he was quite numb to emotions. Moreover, he had left the fear of death behind, so there was nothing that could surprise him too much. Li Mei didn't know this, so when she saw him not reacting, she became stunned. She had thought he was some kind of pervert, who would have nosebleeds as soon as he saw her navel. But she was wrong, as he didn't even react a little. Am I wrong about him? Then why does he tease me? She thought with a puzzled look. However, Yi Chen didn't care about her reaction and swiftly placed his hand on soft her navel. Xiao Mei, now close your eyes and start cultivating, he said, looking at the stunned girl. Li Mei's cheeks flushed. However, she didn't move his hands away. Before doing this, he had explained what he needed to do, and she had agreed without any problem. Why didn't I reject him? She thought, feeling pitiful at her decision. Before closing her eyes and focusing on the spiritual qi around her, she hadn't started cultivating yet, which means she needed to start from the beginning, and Yi Chun was here to help her with this. So, he didn't hesitate, and with a thought, gathered the spiritual qi in the room before moving it towards his own palm and sending it inside her body. If it was anyone else, then they wouldn't be able to do this, because they don't have control over the spiritual qi that doesn't belong to them. Only Yi Chun, who is a spiritual mountain, could do this. As the spiritual qi entered Li Mei's body, she quickly focused, directing it along the path she had learned. However, it took a long time for her to do this. Even with the help of him, it took her a long time to complete one cycle. Watching this, Yi Chen couldn't help but frown. Isn't this too slow? He muttered in his heart, as it took 15 minutes for her to do this, which meant she needed 2.5 hours to complete 10 cycles. However, what he does not know is that Li Mei was shocked because the speed was too fast for her. Jin Yunqi had taught her the basics and informed her that to complete one cycle, she would need half hour to 1 hour. Although the speed of this varied depending on the talent, the grade of cultivation technique also played an important role here. The higher the grade, the greater the speed of cultivating, even if they have low talent. Yi Chen's cultivation technique was divine grade. Moreover, he has a good talent, and he was a mountain spirit. Because of this, he was able to enter the first stage for qi gathering in just 15 minutes. There were also people who would get epiphany, and their process would be as fast as his, but they were too rare. Jin Yunqi thought he had achieved an epiphany, or used some kind of other way when she saw his cultivation. However, she didn't inquire, since in this world, asking for a secret meant asking to take their clothes off. Just like this, 2.5 hours passed, and Li Mei successfully reached the first stage of qi gathering. Her whole body was sweating as if she had gone on intense exercise. Thank you. She expressed her grateful expression. If not for his help, it would have even taken a long time, which was more tiring for her. However, Yi Chen didn't appreciate her thanks. Xiao Mei, you should thank me by dual cultivating with me. Not like this, he said with a dissatisfied look. Humph, rascal, I won't. Li Mei replied instantly with a blushing face. He is not a good person, she thought as she destroyed the good image of him that he built by helping her. Okay, jokes aside, focus on consolidating your stage now. You won't need my personal help with this, but I will make spiritual qi denser in the room. Which will help you, Chen said, ruffling her hair softly. Li Mei could only glare at him with a resentful look before agreeing with a nod. It was not like she hated him. It was just her first time being close with any man. Moreover, he was handsome beyond words and teased her, always giving a hard time. However, slowly she felt more or less relieved around him, especially after witnessing how calm he was and didn't try to do anything inappropriate. Keck, finally letting down guard. Chen chuckled in his heart as he felt changes in her reaction. However, he didn't have any improper thoughts. He was quite fond of this girl and really liked to have her by his side, so it was a good thing that she was changing her view towards him, even though it was only a little. After this, he said a few more words and left. He would really like to stay here and annoy her, but there were 2 books waiting for him to read. Reading book inside his room. Chen took out the biggest book he had seen in his life, which was the myriad book of alchemy, medicine, and herbs. Let's see what it can teach me, he said, and flipped the heavy, ancient cover, which creaked under his touch. On the first page, there was an arrogant description about the book, which said, "This book contains every knowledge of herbs, medicine, and alchemy." Interesting, he muttered with a smile, flipping to the next page. The book was divided into 3 sections: alchemy, medicine, and herbs, in which the medicine and herbs sections were something even a mortal could access. However, for alchemy, it was a bit different. If you don't have a certain cultivation, you won't be able to see what was written here. This was done to prevent any cultivator trying something beyond and killing themselves or others because of it. Chen was in no hurry to look at the medicine and herb part. Hence, he started to read the section of alchemy. There was a slight description on the first page, explaining about the alchemist, profession, and pills. Just like herbs, both alchemists and pills were divided into 9 tiers. A Tier 1 alchemist was the lowest, and a Tier 9 alchemist was the highest. There were also small divisions in each tier that were low, medium, and high. The pills also followed the small divisions. If one wanted to become an alchemist, then they should have an alchemy technique, which was crucial in making pills. However, to learn it, one needed to sacrifice their time, which would result in low cultivation. Because of this, alchemists were rare and had high status wherever they went. They were also good at medicine and poison, which gained them more fame. Anyone was able to become an alchemist as long as they had alchemy technique, a cauldron, and a supply of spirit herbs. There is an alchemy technique written here, but it's no use to me, Chen said, shaking his head, and started to flip through the next pages. There were all kinds of pill formulas and experiences written here. Each pill formula was valuable and enough to cause a stir in the cultivation world. Chen guessed this, but he didn't care and continued to read some pill formulas that he might need. Once he finished reading a few 10 of them, he moved to the medicine and herb section. In the medicine section, there were all kinds of techniques to treat people. Even the needle techniques were written here. As for the spirit herbs, they were divided into grades, and Chen took quite a bit of time to read them. He even skipped the meal and kept reading for an unknown time when suddenly a knock came from the door. It was Li Mei, who stood outside with a flushed and anxious look as she mustered her courage. "Senior brother, it's time for dinner," she called out in a meek voice. Hearing her, Chen blinked with surprise. He then stored the big book in the spatial ring and opened the door. "Junior sister, it seems you're finally acknowledging me," he teased, reaching out to ruffle her hair gently. Li Mei couldn't help but pout at this. However, this time there was not much resentment. After cultivating for a whole day, she understood how great his help was. If not for him, she might not be able to sleep today, as one had to consolidate their stage within a certain time. Ignoring his remark, she asked, "Dinner has arrived. Will you join me?" "Of course, as long as junior sister wants me to eat, I will eat," he replied smoothly and clasped her delicate hand. "Let's go. I am a bit hungry now," he said as he brought her to the dining room. Jinyanchi wasn't going to eat today, so she was not here. As for the servants, they already left after delivering, so only the 2 of them were here having dinner. "Xiaomei, you came from the town, right? Does that mean your parents and family live there?" Chen inquired with a curious look. However, Li Mei shook her head. Sir, the novel F.ir.net website on Google. To access chapters of novels. Early and in the highest quality. My parents died in the beast tide when I was a kid. After that, I was raised in the orphanage and came to the Azure Cloud sect to become a servant. She replied honestly. Hearing her, Chen was stunned a little. He didn't expect a girl like her to come here to become a servant. Isn't that pretty much giving up on her life? He thought and shifted the topic to other things. However, she didn't have any knowledge. Hence, only he was talking and explaining about different herbs as well as their uses. Li Mei was startled at why he knew such things, but she thought it was some common knowledge everyone needed to know. Hence, she listened carefully. When the dinner ended, both of them went back to their rooms. Li Mei had already consolidated her cultivation, so she did worry too much and went to sleep. As for Chen, he stayed up half the night reading the big book. He even forgot about cultivating. This routine continued for the next 2 days until, on the third day, Zhen Yunqi called him outside. I have made the forbidden area and also the farming area. See if they are good or you need any changes, she replied with an exhausted look. For these past 3 days, she has been busy making this. Moreover, she worked alone, as it was important and needed to be kept secret. Chen couldn't help but sigh at this. She was a beauty, yet working so hard. Sigh, I am not strong enough. If not, I won't mind patting her head for encouragement. He thought to himself as he arrived inside the forbidden area with her. As usual, he also dragged Li Mei along. But now she wasn't opposed and even followed him obediently. In these 2 days, she had learned many new things from him. He even answered her some cultivation questions. So, she became quite friendly. Zhen Yunqi didn't know this, so she was stunned at her change. Nevertheless, it was something good, so she ignored it and pointed at the lake. Everything here is covered by a transparent formation that mirrors the image of the lake and surrounding area. No matter what you do inside, the illusion remains intact. If someone approaches, a mist array will activate, guiding them away or putting them to sleep. She explained and continued. This 5-mile-wide area is for herb cultivation. You can plant whatever you need here, she added, pointing at the vast field. Verdant blossom art. Yunqi, it's all good. But what about the creatures in the lake? Also, can I change the temperature of the water? Chen inquired as he looked at the beautiful, wide lake, which was about half a mile across and filled with different aquatic creatures. There was no way he could plant supreme twin ice lotus here with them around. Moreover, a cold environment was necessary for this herb's growth. Zhen Yunqi didn't know what he needed this for, but when he inquired, she took out a red token made from jade. She hesitated for a moment, eyeing him curiously. Just put your spiritual qi inside this, and you will be able to control all the formations here, she explained. With this, you can restrict the movements of creatures inside or even kill them. You can also change the temperature of the water as you wish and plant herbs without doing a manual job, she added, giving him the token. The token was cold, heavy, and about the size of a baby's hand. There were complicated diagrams and inscriptions carved on it, which attracted Chen's attention. She is an inscription master and also a formation master, he thought, observing the patterns. In these past 2 days, he had learned about different professions from the myriad book he'd been reading. Although it was only a small summary, he still got to know how powerful and rare they are, especially having 2 professions at the same time was quite unusual even in that era, when the book was being written, so he couldn't help but feel curious about her. However, he didn't ponder over this too much and gazed at the 5-mile field. The soil here was changed, and there were formations below the ground, making it favorable to plant herbs without doing any manual work. You want to grow every herb here, right? Did you bring them? He inquired as he glanced at her. He also needed some herbs, so he was hoping that she had brought all kinds of herbs, from which he could take a few. However, Zhen Yunqi shook her head at him. I can't get the seeds or herb plants from the sect, as it will attract the attention of others, so it will take some time to get herbs secretly. However, I do have some tier 3 and tier 4 herbs in my hands. You can help me with these, she replied, taking out some pots with herbs and some bags with seeds. As soon as she took this out, Li Mei was stunned. Lily leaf, dark blue fruit, jade root, and thunderflower? Master, are you injured? She asked with concern as she recognized the herbs. Yi Chun had taught her important medicine knowledge in these 2 days, so she knew these herbs were useful in treating damaged meridians and serious injuries. Hence, she couldn't help but feel anxious, wondering what had happened to her master. Although she has only met and talked a few times with her, the care she felt from her was genuine. Moreover, she gave her an inheritance without asking anything in return. So how could she not worry about her? Watching her like this, Zhen Yunqi was taken aback. Then she quickly explained, Li Mei, I am not injured, so don't worry about this. She assured with a gentle look and continued. But, how do you know about these herbs and their effects? She inquired, feeling a little baffled at this. She didn't remember teaching her any medicine knowledge. Moreover, she herself didn't know too much about medicine. Hence, she couldn't help but feel confused. Hearing that her master was fine, Li Mei sighed in relief before replying with a puzzled look. Master, isn't this common knowledge? Senior brother said everyone knew this. She replied with an innocent face pointing at him. After getting taught medicine by Yi Chun, she had asked why he knew this, and he said that it was general knowledge every cultivator should know, and she believed him without batting an eye. Zhen Yunqi couldn't help but become stunned and speechless at this as she looked at Yi Chun with questions. She had heard about mountain spirits possessing high intelligence, but there was no mention of them knowing anything else. It must be those kingdoms and sects who didn't tell all the truth about mountain spirits. Or he has some secrets, she thought inwardly. Yunqi, if you are done talking, then give me the herbs. I will plant them, Yi Chun said with a clam look, ignoring her gaze. In response, Zhen Yunqi nodded, giving him plants and seeds. She was curious about how he knew about medicine, but that didn't mean she would request an answer from him. Hence, she didn't say anything and stood back to watch him. Li Mei was also doing the same, wondering how he would accelerate the growth rate of herbs. Feeling their gazes, Yi Chun didn't delay and took out the red token before sending a wisp of spiritual chi in it and controlling the formations on fields with a thought. SEO arch asterisk the novel underscore fired at website on Google to access chapters of novels, early and in the highest quality. Instantly after this, the whole field trembled slightly, and small openings appeared in the ground for seeds and plants. He then waved his hand, and in that instant all the seeds floated out, dropping into the small openings. Then the plants followed the suit after. After this, the soil covered itself, and water trickled through the formation. It's time to use divine art, Yi Chun thought with a serious look, before forming some mysterious hand seals. Once finished, the whole mountain trembled and dense spiritual chi surged, creating massive, complicated starry formation that enveloped the restricted area. It was like countless Milky Way descending with stars, and they were standing in between it. Witnessing this, Li Mei was shocked. Even Zhen Yunqi was the same, as she hadn't seen anything like this. Just what kind of diviner power is this? She muttered in her heart when Yi Chun gazed at the starry formation in front of him. This was his divine power, verdant blossom art, which can accelerate the growth rate of herbs by 100 times. He only needed to do this once. After this, his main body, which meant the mountain would sustain it naturally. This formation will remain here as long as I am using this art to accelerate the growth, he muttered in his heart, wondering if Zhen Yunqi's formations would be able to handle this or not. Planting Supreme Ice Lotus. Yunqi, can your formations hold on for a long time? Yi Chun inquired as he glanced at her. Hearing him, Zhen Yunqi didn't hesitate and replied, there is no problem to hold on because my inscriptions use spiritual chi on the mountain as the power source while also helping to run the formations, she said, pointing at the small inscriptions that were engraved everywhere. So, it's like this, Yi Chun muttered with a nod, understating why she was confident. The mountain, which meant his main body, was connected to the world vein and drew spiritual chi from there without any limit. Because of this, there was no need to worry about exhaustion of spiritual chi. Moreover, it also saved her from spending thrifty amounts of spirit stones to keep everything running. Yunqi, create 2 more jade tokes like this that can access the field area. One is for you and the other is for Li Mei. With this, you both can come here and plant whatever you need. Yi Chun suggested, displaying the red token. Okay, I will make it then, Zhen Yunqi agreed with a nod. After this, she said a few more words and took her leave with Li Mei. The novelfire.net. Website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. She knew he needed to do something, and it might not be good for her and Li Mei to remain here. Hence, they both left tactfully. Watching their backs, Chen smiled before heading towards the lake. The myriad book had the information of Supreme Twin Ice Lotus, although it didn't tell me about the grade. Because of my low cultivation, I was still able to access everything related to this herb, even the planting method. To plant it, I only need the small stem below the lotus, which will suffice for the growth as long as I provide spiritual chi and good environment. He muttered as he fetched the supreme twin ice lotus from his spatial ring. This was a supreme spiritual herb that needed 100,000 years to grow. Because of this, the twin ice lotus was full of vitality and could be planted even by the small slice of stem, which meant Chen can plant multiple numbers of these lotuses. However, it would take thousands of years for the lotuses to reach maturity, even with his 100 times of growth acceleration. Nevertheless, he didn't mind this since there was a way to upgrade his verdant blossom art and so the other divine powers. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. Looks like I need to go out soon, he said to himself, wondering how great the chaos would be if he consumed another spiritual mountain. Yes, this was the way to upgrade his divine power. Moreover, there was also a 1% chance of obtaining the divine power of the spiritual mountain he consumed. Jin Yunxi wasn't aware of this, and it was probably because the information was blocked by powerful people. They must have also hidden the birth of many new spiritual mountains. If not, there won't be only a few of them that are known. Chen muttered with a thoughtful look. However, he didn't ponder over it too much and took out a sharp knife, slicing the stem of the ice lotus into 10 parts, before separating the twin lotus from the bud. Once he was done, he put back the 2 ice lotus in the box and started to change the temperature of the lake. As for the creature inside, he restricted their movements in half while keeping the temperature there normal. Because of this, half of the lake slowly became covered with ice while the other half remained warm. This should suffice, he said, watching the changes, and after this, he carefully planted the stem of ice lotus in shallow water. Once he was finished, he took his leave. The ice lotus will grow for 1,000 years. So there was no way to see anything now. Even with his divine eye, he could only see the vitality and nothing else. Hence, he left while planning to give the ice lotuses to Beauties living in courtyard. However, he didn't hurry to do this and returned to his room first. In these past 3 days, he had ignored his cultivation. Because of it, his junior sister Li Mei had surpassed him. With his help, she had reached the bottleneck of the first stage, chi gathering, and was preparing to break through tomorrow. Yet he was still at the start and even ignored the system points he had gained when he was consolidating his stage. Fishing for items is not important now. Moreover, as long as I can have a lot of points, I can fish for higher grade treasure. So I should save it for the future, he pondered, loudly as he wanted to fish for higher grade items. There were chances of getting trash, but it was worth it since he needed a trump card and natural treasure that can help him to increase the range of divine power. Because of this, he didn't care about system points now and started to cultivate. Just like this, the day was over. And when the night came, Chen's cultivation advanced greatly and was close to breaking through to the next stage. If anyone saw his speed, their jaws would drop because he had only cultivated for a few hours. Moreover, he didn't take any treasures or pills. He just cultivated with his talent, the help of the mountain and cultivation technique. Although the last 2 were cheats, at this speed, I can break through the 9th stage of chi gathering in a week or 2. Chen muttered to himself as he thought of the important problem, and that was dual cultivating. Is it possible to convince junior sister, or should I trick her? He thought in his heart and left his room. Just what did senior brother fed me? Why are you following me, senior brother? Your room is that way, Li Mei said with a pout as she saw Chen sticking to her once again after the dinner. Why does senior bother get clingy like this? She thought helplessly. However, she felt happy inside. In these past 3 days, he was focusing on reading the book and teaching her medicine. Because of this, he didn't tease her too much, which made her feel a sense of loss. Xiaomei, why are you so dissatisfied? Chen complained as he poked her cheeks before replying. I have prepared a gift for you, and it's better to give it now rather than tomorrow, he said with a serious look. Watching him like this, Li Mei was stunned and puzzled. Nevertheless, she nodded and led him inside her room. What gift senior brother wants to give me now? She thought with a confused look when Chen sat on her bed and gestured. Take a seat in front of me and circulate your spiritual qi for a few times. He instructed calmly while taking out the red box. Li Mei was still confused, but she obeyed his words with a nod. In these past days, he had taught her many things, such as how to breathe out spiritual qi that contained poison and things like this. Hence, she didn't feel surprised when he instructed her. It didn't take too long, and she was done circulating her spiritual qi in just a few minutes. Watching this, Chen didn't hesitate and took out the supreme ice lotus from the red box. In that instant, the room temperature dropped sharply. It's cold. Li Mei couldn't help but mutter while looking at the beautiful ice blue lotus in his hand. Senior brother, this is the gift you are talking about? She inquired with curiosity. Yes, this is a supreme ice lotus herb which can help you with cultivation. So just eat this without any worry, Chen said as he gave the lotus to her. However, Li Mei didn't take it and backed out. Senior brother, what about you? Don't you need such herb for yourself? She questioned with a pout. SEO ** the novelfire.net. Website on Google to access chapters of novels. Early and in the highest quality. Watching her like this, Chen couldn't help but smile before nudging her cute nose. Xiao Mei, this supreme ice lotus is something only women can use. So it's useless to me. Moreover, I have another one. So don't worry about it. He assured her as he took out one more ice lotus from the box. Only after seeing this Li Mei become relieved. But she was still hesitant as she felt the ice lotus was not simple. Where did senior brother get this herb? Also, what grade is it? She thought inwardly, her mind running with questions. When Chen moved forward and grabbed her face. Xiao Mei, if you don't want to eat, then let me feed you, he said with a smirk, gazing into her eyes. And before she could respond, he fed her the ice lotus. The supreme ice lotus wasn't that big. Hence, it perfectly entered her small mouth. Li Mei's eyes couldn't help but widen at this, as she felt an icy sensation spreading in her mouth. Senior brother, she exclaimed inwardly with unwillingness when Chen spoke again. You won't feel any pain, but your body will become a little cold. However, there is no need worry. Just continue circulating spiritual qi and everything will be fine. He instructed calmly as he ruffled her hair. Hearing him, Li Mei could only nod with a helpless look. The ice lotus was already melting her mouth, and there was no going back. Because of this, she felt irritated. If it was something expensive and she couldn't afford it, then what can she do? But it was useless to think this now, so she closed her eyes to focus on cultivating. When suddenly a cold feeling spread all over body and ice blue. Qi appeared in her dantian, seeping inside the faint green spiritual root. At first there was no change. However, slowly the spiritual root started to change color, becoming ice blue. Just as this was happening, a whirlpool of spiritual qi formed in the room. It was even bigger than when Chen cultivated. This situation alarmed Zhen Yunqi. As she discovered the whirlpool was coming from Li Mei's room, she hurriedly checked inside with spiritual consciousness only to discover Li Mei cultivating with focus while Chen sitting in front of her observing something. What is he doing? Also, how could Li Mei cultivate like this? She has reached the bottleneck. She muttered with a frown and retracted her spiritual consciousness. It's not like she didn't want to watch, but probing someone with spiritual consciousness when they are cultivating was dangerous. Just now she was worried something happened to Li Mei, and that's why she didn't hesitate. Now that Li Mei was fine and Chen was there to look for her, she didn't worry too much. Moreover, with her secret protection, nothing could harm Li Mei yet. But even with this, she kept an eye on her room for any changes. Just as she was doing this, an unimaginable change happened in Li Mei's body. Her bones, meridians, and even dantian slowly started becoming ice blue. However, there was no pain, and Li Mei even felt a tingling sensation which made her relax. Just what did senior brother fed me? Li Mei thought with a confused look when suddenly she felt spiritual qi flowing more smoothly inside her body. It was as if her talent was raised to a higher level. She was stunned at this. However, she grabbed the opportunity and started to cultivate. Her bottleneck had already loosened because of the changes in her body, and she thought this was only a temporary change. Moreover, she didn't want to waste the opportunity her senior brother gave her. So she put away all her thoughts and started cultivating seriously. Watching her like this, Chen couldn't help but chuckle in his heart. This girl is really naive, he thought, and he focused on her dantian with divine eyes. Her physique has successfully changed to Yin physique. Now all is left to convince her or trick her, he said in his heart. Don't cultivate too fast, boom. A thundering sound echoed as Li Mei successfully broke through, reaching the second stage of qi gathering. Then, without her doing anything, the ice-blue spiritual qi inside her body started to circulate rapidly, consolidating her foundation at massive speed. Li Mei couldn't help but become dumbfounded after seeing this. She knew how hard it was for her to consolidate her foundation, yet now it was happening without her making any effort. Is this how heaven-grade spiritual root cultivates? She muttered in her heart with doubt when a voice pulled her out of the thoughts. Xiaomei, you can stop now, Chen said when he saw her successful breakthrough. Hearing him, Li Mei hesitated a little and opened her eyes. *the website on Google to access chapters of novels. Early and in the highest quality. Senior brother, shouldn't I grab this opportunity to cultivate more? She inquired in a hurry. She still thought this change was something temporary and expensive, and because of this, she didn't want to waste it. Chen guessed what she was thinking, and he couldn't help but pinch her soft cheeks. Xiaomei, this change is permanent, which means you can cultivate with this speed from now on, he explained with a smile. Hearing him, Li Mei was shocked and soon became worried. Senior brother, this ice lotus must be expensive, right? She inquired, her face paling at this thought. Although she was naive, she knew how expensive herbs were, especially after getting taught medical knowledge by him. She knew every herb that had a permanent effect on the cultivation was fought with life and death. She didn't know how he got this herb, but one thing was sure, he must have paid some kind of heavy price. Thinking about this, she became even more worried when Chen shook his head at her with disapproval. Little girl, did you forget what my divine power is? With this, I can grow this supreme ice lotus like weed. So stop worrying too much, he stated, flicking her forehead. Hearing him, Li Mei was relieved. However, she still felt something amiss when Chen suddenly warped his arms around her waist with a smile. Senior brother, she exclaimed with a stunned look as he pulled her into his embrace, making her feel warmth from his body. Because of Yin physique, her body was cold, which just made the warmth from his clear, and she felt like hugging him tightly forever. However, she hurriedly snapped out of this thought and tried to resist. But it was all useless as she found that he was stronger than her. How is this possible? Senior brother is only at the first stage of qi gathering, she thought with shock when Chen gazed into her eyes. Xiaomei, even though I have not paid anything for this herb, it is very important to me. Now that you have eaten one, you must do something for me, he said with a serious look. Hearing him, Li Mei was stunned and soon became anxious. Senior brother, what do you need me to do? She inquired timidly, her body going soft as she felt he wanted something very important from her. Watching her like this, Chen smiled and tightened his arms around her soft waist. Xiaomei, I will tell you when the time comes. But now you should sleep, he said softly as he caressed her face before placing his finger on her head. Li Mei was puzzled by his actions when suddenly the ice-cold qi inside her body erupted, and before she could think of anything, her vision turned dark. She really looks cute when sleeping, Chen whispered with a smile as he pinched her small nose before laying her down on the bed. After this, he checked her body with divine eyes. Although the change of physique couldn't harm her, it made her extremely exhausted. The only reason she didn't feel tired was because the vitality of the herb kept her energetic. However, it was only for a while, and Chen fastened this process, making her fall into deep sleep, which will help her to recover from exhaustion. Time to go back, Chen thought to himself as he covered her body with a quilt before turning off the lamp and leaving the room. When the morning came, Li Mei woke up feeling a little dizzy. However, she didn't care about this and fist-checked around her. Only when she saw that Chen hadn't slept here, she became relieved. However, there was also a sense of loss she couldn't describe. Nevertheless, she didn't ponder over too much and got ready before heading to eat breakfast with Chen. Senior brother, you still didn't tell me what I needed to do? Li Mei said with a pout, feeling quite anxious. Xiaomei, why hurry so much? I will tell you when the time comes, and only you can help me with this. Chen replied with a serious look, which just made her feel more nervous. However, There was nothing she could do because he kept his mouth closed. Just like this, they arrived at the breakfast table and found Jin Yunqi was also there. However, it didn't pose any problem, and so they finished their breakfast hastily, intending to go back and cultivate. But before they could leave, Jin Yunqi stopped them. You both don't cultivate too fast. Especially don't break through the 5th stage of the Qi gathering realm in these 2 weeks, she said seriously, making both Li Mei and Yi Chen stunned. Master, why shouldn't we break through? Is there something we need to do before this? Li Mei inquired with a puzzled look while Yi Chen waited for the answer. Jin Yunqi didn't disappoint them and replied, the Mystic Pond will open after 1 week or 2, and it only allows people at the Qi gathering stage to enter. Once inside, you will be able to cleanse your body, which will help you in creating a strong foundation. Moreover, the pond also has the effect of enlightenment and refining your Qi, which allows everyone to break through, at least 3 or 4 times while providing benefits for future cultivation. If you break through above 5th stage, there might be a chance you will reach the Qi refining stage, which will kick you out of the pond, giving you fewer benefits, she explained calmly. Hearing her, Li Mei nodded with an understanding expression while Yi Chen went into deep thoughts.